welcome. Welcome back to the channel. I'm Wendy. It's nice to have you here today. If you're new, and if you're not new, I'm glad to see you again too. I appreciate all of the comments and the messages and emails that I receive, that you're being encouraged, and I'm glad because that's the whole point of me doing this. So thanks for letting me know that, and thanks for watching. So I had this tickle in my throat this week. You'll just have to bear with my voice. Today's the best it's been, so I thought I'd take the opportunity. I wanted to share about this book that I finished, and I don't know if you've ever read about George Mueller of Bristol. This is it was an excellent book, number one. Number two, it's the type of book that you have to ingest a little slowly and digest what the words are. Take your time through it. And so it did take me a while to get through this one. Now I've got this book very marked up, very highlighted. I highly recommend. And if you don't know who was George Mueller, as a teenager, he was a liar, a gambler, an alcoholic, and a thief. As a young adult, he was a skeptic, a seeker, and finally, a believer in the God who changes lives. As a man, he was a visionary, a prayer warrior, and a caregiver to more than 10,000 orphans who needed to know the love of Jesus Christ. George Mueller's service to the people of Bristol, England, in the 1800s, and his devout personal prayer life reflect the joy of believing in God's faithfulness. Perhaps the most powerful part of his story is what it teaches us in practical ways about depending upon God to meet every need we have. A man who knew the power of prayer, Mueller raised millions of dollars without asking anyone but God for funds. He treated the poor with respect to the point where he was criticized for his kindness. He offered education, a home, and a Bible to thousands of children. He met and influenced some of the greatest political and social figures of his time. Through it all, he showed a habitual hanging upon the unseen God. I love that. Though he lived more than 100 years ago, Mueller's legacy continues not only in the organizations he inspired, but in the lives of men and women encouraged to know that God can use an ordinary person to accomplish an extraordinary mission. And I just love it, primarily because I've always loved missions, right? We've been talking about that. And so where we left off last time on my talk was, excuse me, being called to homeschool and how that became my mission field at that point. So for all of those years, from kindergarten through 12th grade, my mission field was Hamm Academy, our homeschool. And it was a really grand adventure. I mean, yes, there were times, there were tears, and there was frustration on my part as much as one or both of the girls, like thinking my demands were too great or being frustrated because one of them didn't understand the math problem. And I was just like, I'm going to have to ask Dad on that one. I have explained it all the ways I know how to explain it. And so then Bob would come home and one of them would say, Dad, and he then would have his perspective and they'd get it like that. So I love that, that we were able to do that and that we shared the journey. Of course, I had the lion's share part of it because that was my primary job at that time. And I did work part-time and for most of the time we homeschooled, but I was able to work in the mornings, early morning. And so by the time I got home, then the girls and I would do the rest of their school. And but really it was a mission. So much of homeschooling was just as much for me to learn what the Lord was showing me in those seasons as it was for the academics that the girls were learning. So, I don't know that homeschooling is for everyone. I don't think that that's the case. We have really good schools and we have really bad schools. Some of them are excellent, some of them are not. That's always been that way. And just in the same vein, there are really good homeschools and there are really poor homeschools, like not very well done. So, yeah, find what works for you. And if that's what the Lord has called you to, he'll see you through it. He will. And, I know one year my girls had to endure doing 2 math curriculums because I couldn't decide which I liked better. Poor them, right? Like, are you kidding me, Mom? 2 math? And they did. And they survived. And then you also learn, like, well, like big picture, if there's something that's not really working, we could tweak. But I didn't want to get the habit of like changing all the time, because there's something to be said about pushing through something too, right? So anyway, multiple lessons to be learned within home educating. And, we didn't know Bob wouldn't be around to see them graduate. So I'm always grateful for that extra time that we had together that we wouldn't have had otherwise. And I always had the girls, they worked at least a grade level ahead of where they really were, because they were capable, and because always in the back of my mind, I thought, well, we might need a cushion someday. And, we did need that cushion because there was quite a blow that nobody could have prepared for Bob to die when he did in the way that he did. And it was just, I was just grateful that we had that cushion. And yeah. So, and also how we did it as the girls got older, they took classes, not just learning at home, but they did a hybrid. So they took a science class with other kids who were also homeschooled, but they all gathered to take, chemistry or anatomy and advanced biology or whatever they were in at that year. And so they got that classroom experience doing labs together, and they did some classes online, which prepared them to transition to taking some college classes while they were still in high school. Just helped make everything such a smooth transition. And it gave them such a variety of ways, some independent learning, some online, some in person. It just really varied, gave them a good variety, I think, a big array of the different types of classroom settings. Okay, so that being said, that became my mission field from preschool for Sophie all through high school. And I was a little sad when Ham Academy closed, but also I was grateful to have completed that mission that the Lord had called me to. And I didn't take it lightly. And I'm grateful that he nudged and I heard, and that's the path that we did. And it was a big change in my mind to go from classroom teaching to really kind of helping my girls as my students think for themselves. And like classroom teaching, you're trying to get a group of kids from here to here to here, all relatively at the same time. That's a different type of instruction than you can do at home. And so at home, once they learn to read, then the onus became on them to read, follow the directions, think, do what the assignment was, and then we would go over it together and check it. And any math problems missed, they had to fix. So it just embedded striving for excellence and thinking for themselves. And I'm grateful for that. And so if you ever feel the Lord leading you to do something, he'll He'll equip you. He'll get you through. And just like George Mueller, you're going to rely on prayer. Many times I would rely on prayer and or be, frustrated. Like I've explained it 5 times. I don't know how to say it differently. And I don't know, Bob was a help in that. And so, yeah, we were a good team when it came to that. And both girls want to continue and do the same thing when they have children. So, that was a great mission field. And that's where I'll stop today for that. Yeah, we'll move on to something else next time. I hope you have a great week and encourage someone today. That's my gift for you today.